Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live at Lotlinx. This is where we talk to industry leaders, influencers about modern retail and where automotive is going. And I have with me my friend and guest, Todd Smith. You are the CEO of QoreAI. I've known you in the business a long time. Give us a little bit of your background. Who are you?
Background, all automotive. I grew up in the industry, my favorite industry in the world, obviously, because no one will let me do anything else. Been on the retail side, on the tech side. I don't know which one I prefer. I love technology, so here I am today, again, building another tech company.
I like you because I was about to say I love you, but I like you, I love you, whatever, because I feel like you kind of simplify complex conversations, technology conversations. You cut through the clutter, right? You sometimes say the things that we all want to say, but maybe we don't have the courage to say. And I appreciate that about you. And I think I've seen you especially over this last year, talking about AI. It's all the buzz. And I think of you as the expert, one of the experts in AI. Would you describe yourself as that?
I'm going to say that is absolutely hogwash. I am as far from an expert ever. I say I'm a student of this business. I think it's impossible to be an expert in technology. It moves too fast, too complex. I'm an absolute student of the game.
So what would you say, and by the way, let's do a little plug. I mean, you wrote a book, The Intelligent Dealership, How AI and Data Transform Automotive Retail. And so when we talk about AI transforming automotive, I mean, it's all the buzz on this floor. It's all the buzz. Every company's coming out with an AI something, right? And so what's your take on that?
Okay, well, if we want to jam it right in there. So I look at it as, look, AI is pervasively in everything. It's not a product, and I think we have to stop looking at it as a product. It's not something you're just going to plug in. It's going to be magical. It's definitely, to me, I look at AI is bad software, but great people. And what I mean by that is if you hire your AI system, your agentic agent, you train it, you give it feedback, and you go back and forth, just like you hired an employee. The only advantage of these employees, they work for peanuts, they never take off, and they never forget anything. So it's a massively different world we're entering. And I think we have to change our framework of how we're looking at this technology.
I mean, do you see it like when the internet came out? I remember this in automotive where the internet, I remember dealers were advertising in newspapers and all of a sudden the internet is here, and is it here to stay? And there was skepticism. Do you see this as that next wave?
I look at the internet was the foundation. AI would not exist without the internet to make it do the things that it's doing today. I know this leads to this AI bubble and this buzz around things, but honestly, I always say in every speech I've given in the last probably year, I say AI is the most undervalued and appreciated thing, and it's the most overvalued and appreciated thing simultaneously. I don't think we've really seen what AI is going to deliver for us. And what we're only seeing is these large language models, what they're doing. We're not seeing the true benefits yet. I think we're still at the bottom of the J curve. So I think it's still incredibly underhyped. I know this sounds crazy to say.
Wow.
It is just because we're not seeing the true outcomes of it yet at all.
And what can that look like?
Everything changes in our entire lives. I say I have a 15-year-old about to be 16. This is the most exciting time to be alive. I am most happy to be alive in history today. And I tell my son, you're blessed because you're going to see the most transformational time in human history because we're moving from biological to synthetic. We're moving from a capability that we've never had. This is not just building a new SaaS tool or new computer thing. We're building tools that think, can engage, can help us do the things we're trying to do. That's so transformative in every capacity of our lives, whether it's going to be medical science. Demis at Google DeepMind says potentially they'll solve disease within a decade. take it from a guy who won the Nobel Prize with his team for doing a protein fold, which was a 40-year problem. There are very smart people working on this. And yeah, look, they have to hype it to a degree. But I think there's going to be profound changes in everything we do in our lives.
And what does that look like in automotive retail? You talk about the intelligent dealership, how AI will transform it.
So I wrote the book. The book all comes down to October 22nd, 2024, Anthropic released computer use. And I literally watched that you could send and access a website, you could send it on a mission, it'd fill out a form. I said, it's over. And at that moment, I started writing this book. I said, our industry is going to need a foundational structure. How are we going to deal with governance? How are we going to deal with compliance? How are we going to deal with data hygiene? All the things necessary to power an AI-driven future. So I wanted to build the framework. So I spent 14 months writing the book to get it here today.
And when we think about the average dealership, and their capabilities and resources, are they going to be able to rise to the occasion?
Look, and this is the world. Our industry is we're entrepreneurial, and we'll battle through things. Does that mean every dealer survives? No, but every dealer didn't survive the credit crisis of the 80s. Like, that's not, it works in the strongest and fittest will survive. I do believe the dealers who adapt to an agentic world are going to be far more successful, not from the technology itself, but from the efficiency gains. That's, to me, is the most critical thing. I look at AI, and I look around here, every piece of AI is focused on the consumer side. But when you turn the lens internally, how can we use AI to be more efficiently run as a business? Because, listen, we operate on, to me, tight margins. 3% is a pretty good dealership net margin. We need to move that to 6, 9, 12, 15, 20%. That's going to happen in this agentic world.
What do you say for the dealership that is hesitant, right? They feel like, I don't want this artificial intelligence. I don't want this taking over. When they think about, my people know best. What would you say to the hesitant dealer?
I would say this. Look at AI and play with it yourself. Before you buy anything, look at it and experiment and understand the value it can deliver you personally. I think once you do that, you feel a little bit more comfortable. For when you look at it through the lens of your people, AI is not going to replace the people today, but people are a combination of tasks. If you think about it this way, you have a job. Let's say you're a BDC manager. Your tasks are to go look at dashboards, look at reporting, go measure your people's performance, check on leads. You go through a series of workflows through your day. AI is here to start taking some of those workflows out, making your life more efficient. And when you think of AI in that lens, you should be looking at it as a great thing to empower your people to perform better, to help serve your customers better, as well as increase the efficiency of your organization. And I think when you, again, change that lens, it changes your entire outlook on what this is going to deliver. Forget the hype. Get down to the practicality of it.
I heard a quote, I don't know who said it. They said, AI is not going to replace you. It's the people that use AI that are going to replace you.
Think about the accelerant, right? So I used to be a giant PowerPoint wizard, and then I became a keynote wizard. And now I use Gamma. And Gamma, to me, I can write what I want, and I can go to bed, and Gamma will build my deck and email it to me overnight. That is, so where I used to spend 10, 15 days building a PowerPoint, I can build it in 30 minutes. And now it's pulling, and I built it where it's pulling from over 6 million words, videos, all my content. So I could say, this is what I want to communicate to this audience. And voila, I don't even have to design the images. It all is dynamically built. I've walked into 20 groups and said, oh, my deck was built overnight. Let's see what it delivered.
Wow.
And I think it's a fun part of this experimentation. And I think you have to be really comfortable experimenting, failing, and failing forward. And I think if you have that mindset, again, your life changes.
This isn't to be provocative, but do you see or do you imagine that certain positions could go away with AI in the auto retail or automotive?
It's not, look, it's reality, right? It's just time. And look, at the end, think of it from this sense. Dealerships are 5.4 million average payroll based on NADA's last year data. So if you take 20% of that out, it's over $1 million a year. If it goes direct to the bottom line, and now I'm competing with another store that we are same brand in similar markets, I'm beating him by a giant $1 million net efficiency. The reality is it only takes a few dealers to topple the cone and drive everybody to this new model. And look, is it going to be maybe a rough road? Potentially, absolutely. But this is the road we're on. And nothing's going to probably derail that. I don't see anything except if it's power, lack of power to compute time. But at this rate, I don't see any of those trains stopping.
If you were a dealership and you want to get started, put your toe in the water, where do you start?
Playing with it yourself, rule one. And that means personal use. Talk to your ChatGPT. I'm from Jersey, so I curse at mine constantly, and you challenge it. And even if you're not comfortable with like, what do I ask it? Ask the AI. How do I ask you this? How would you create the prompt? Or what do you need to know from me to give me a great output? You can use it as this collaborative thing. But I think for all dealers, before AI, it starts with data. It starts with clean, hygiened, continuously updated data that they own. Because I think there's a mass divergence today. Over the next year, we're going to end with a sea of dealers that are renters of their intelligence, and they're going to be renting it from vendors forever. And there's going to be a sea of dealers that are owners of their data. And that's going to power their future because it's not just data. Data, one, most powerful asset on our planet. But beyond that, every piece of data that touches someone else creates derivative data. And that data is incredibly valuable. And dealers need to start coveting that. They need to hold that close because this is creating the dealership brain of their future, of what's going to run their organization.
Yeah. So if you're walking around the floor and you're evaluating vendors and they're all pushing AI, and what would you recommend a dealer ask? What questions should they ask? How do they really understand what's real, what's not when it comes to AI?
Yeah, so I posted a thing about this. You know, obviously I'm always posting on LinkedIn, and I appreciate all the positive comments that you give me. And look, I think there's a few things right off the cuff. If you're accessing my data, how are you doing it? What is the data chain of custody? Are you able to track where my data is? Because you don't want the data to be exposed to the LLMs, especially when it's PII. No customer data should be dropped down into, to me, any LLM ever. So that's rule number one. If they can't explain what happens to your data, to me, that's a big problem too. So I think those are the couple things right off the bat every dealer should ask any vendor in this audience.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. Any final words for the audience?
I just thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here and spending the time with you.
Thank you. It's been great knowing you over all these years and seeing your continued great work.
Yeah,
so
thank you so much.
Thanks, Todd.
Awesome.
All right, thanks.